Yo, what's up guys? It's King Reggie. Back again with another video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a topic that always brings a little bit of controversy in Apex Legends. And that topic is, what's the better input, the mouse and keyboard or the controller? Now we might not ever know, but in this video I got some arguments to maybe help make the argument a little bit clearer. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. Now we know that there's many controversies and arguments that can be debated until the end of time, like who would win in a fight, a gorilla or a grizzly bear? Wait. We clearly know that the grizzly bear would win. So maybe there's another argument. Maybe the Xbox versus the PlayStation. Well, wait. PlayStation is definitely better than Xbox. Okay, maybe there's another argument we can make with, does pineapple go on pizza or does it not? Wait, that's not really an argument either because pineapple does not go on pizza. Anyways, I'm just kidding. And if you want to debate any of those things, I got more than enough time to share my thoughts on those topics. But still, in Apex, there's a much bigger debate, and that is what's better, mouse and keyboard or controller? Is aim assist overpowered or is it not? And it's become more of a topic in most competitive shooters now because mouse and keyboard players are able to play with controller players. And it's really just going to be a long argument, and I can make this short by just telling you that it's going to depend on who you ask. If you ask a controller player what's better, he's going to tell you a controller is better. If you ask a mouse and keyboard player what's better, he's going to tell you that the mouse and keyboard is better. But still, in this video, I kind of just want to outline the own argument and kind of give my own thoughts, my own experiences, and also kind of give you some more information. So maybe if you're on the fence about which input you want to choose, you can make this decision with total confidence. So let's start with the mouse and keyboard, or the real way to play Apex. Now this isn't to throw any shade at any controller player, I'm only kidding, but the input and feel of Apex on mouse and keyboard is 100 times smoother than any controller can give you. But if I'm playing controller, I'm usually playing with paddles because I don't like to play claw, because I care about my fingers. But still, even with the exception of, say, Ecstasy as a controller player, movement on the controller still feels kind of blocky and kind of just jagged and not as smooth as mouse and keyboard does feel. And I feel like the smoothness of the mouse and keyboard is a good enough argument for you to want to play mouse and keyboard, and I could just scrap the whole rest of the video. That's really all you need. That's all the mouse and keyboard needs, is that it's so much smoother to play on mouse and keyboard than any controller can give you. And that's Steam configs included for a controller. Mouse and keyboard is by far way better for any movement. The next argument that mouse and keyboard would definitely have would be the freedom of movement and the different binds that they can make with their mouse and keyboard. As a mouse and keyboard player, you are an oyster, and Apex is your playground, or any game is really your playground, because all the binds you can make it so that it works for you. You can bind, instead of WASD, you can bind 1, 2, 3, 4, and that can be your forward, back, side, whatever type of movement. And you don't get that freedom on controller. You can only use the thumbsticks. You can only bind this and that. You're very limited on what you can do on the controller, whereas it just makes every single controller player kind of the same. But when I look at any mouse and keyboard player, everyone has like different binds, like some kind of similar, but everyone kind of has different binds in different ways that they like to have their keyboard set up, which is cool. And it's also cool that, no movement techs are found out in Apex like every single day. And it's not surprising that every single movement tech comes from someone that's playing on mouse and keyboard. I seen someone do a backflip the other day on Apex, and that's not possible on controller. Mantle jumps, I don't know if it's possible on controller. It's a lot harder on controller, but the freedom of movement that you get on mouse and keyboard makes a lot of these new movement techs so much easier to learn and way easier to access the different movements in Apex. And for these last two, I would say these are pros and cons. They do have upsides on each of them, but also a downside. First one would be aiming, and then the second one would be the learning curve of the mouse and keyboard. Start with aiming. The rawness of aim on the mouse and keyboard can be so satisfying when you hit a beam, but then you just want to break your mouse in half because you can't even hit a single Mozam shot and the guy is standing right in front of you. And it probably just kind of feels that way because aiming on mouse and keyboard is very humbling because that was you. There's no aim assist. You missed all of those wingman shots, or you missed all of those Mozam shots, and you're just beside yourself. Now with the learning curve, it's easy to learn mouse and keyboard, but it's a lot harder to master it. It's a lot harder to understand where all your keybinds are and then think so quick on it. It's easy to just set the keybinds up, start learning. After about a week or two, you're going to be able to do it pretty good. but you're going to need a few months before you're able to like really just process all of it so quick, especially in a game like Apex where everything is happening at the snap of a finger. It's a lot harder to learn. And some people, you know, they just don't have that time to want to learn a new input, which is fine. But if you're starting out on mouse and keyboard, just give it a little bit of time. Just give it some time, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not going to learn any of this in 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months. I'd say you're probably going to have to give yourself almost a couple of years before you really feel so good with it that you feel like you're really going to start to improve. And maybe 2 years is an exaggeration, but you got to understand that people in Apex are getting better. And a lot of people that have played on mouse and keyboard have played for years. So when you see someone like Fade or like Aceu, you see that they're going so crazy, but they've been playing on a mouse and keyboard for so long that they're so comfortable with it. And I'd say most people don't do that because they're just comfortable with controller and they don't want to go through the time of learning. But the ceiling of a mouse and keyboard player is so much higher than that of a controller player, which is also why the learning curve is very necessary if you do want to play mouse and keyboard. Now, before I start talking with controller, I just want to let you know that I am a transitioning controller player. I've played controller since I was 6 or however old, and whether that be the Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, I just like to play controller because, you know, it feels comfortable. But I do like the mouse and keyboard so much more than any controller, and I just love learning mouse and keyboard, even though it's frustrating 75% of the time. That 25% of the time is just enough to bring me to keep coming back for more. And it really doesn't leave anything to be desired. If you hit a good tap strafe on mouse and keyboard and then you just annihilate some guy, it feels really good, especially because you just feel like so accomplished, like that's all you. I'm not trying to really like sway you in any way, but that's just my own personal thoughts on it, and you can take that however you want to. I usually like to play mouse and keyboard every now and then. I don't like to play it all the time. I usually bounce back between each input, but that really just depends on my mood. But these are just some of my own thoughts that I have. That being said, controller is where it's at. It does feel like you have your training wheels on a little bit when you're coming from playing on mouse and keyboard, but I still wouldn't want that any other way. And for a literal majority of the Apex community, controller is king. And my theory is because of the comfortability with most of us as controller players. When we were growing up, we were playing on a controller, which is a strong pro for a lot of controller players. Without even having aim assist, they'd probably still be just as good. They'd probably still be a good controller player. And I think it's just a lot easier for a controller player coming from Xbox or PlayStation to gravitate still towards that, as opposed to just switching and having to relearn everything they know about Apex. Like, trust me, when I transitioned from controller to keyboard, I was questioning myself the entire time of, do I want to play mouse and keyboard? And I was like, no, give me a controller. So much easier. Like, But the downside of controller is that you're still hindered in your movement. And there's a reason why a lot of the controller players want that raw movement feel. They want the raw movement feel that the MMK can give you, but they still want to have that little aim assist that the controller have because they're a little bit more comfortable with the sticks. Is my own thoughts, but I don't think that I'd be far off wrong. Is that people do want that fast, twitchy movement on a controller, but still want to be able to play what they're comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that. You should be able to play the game how you're comfortable feeling. But it's still a lot harder to emulate on controller, and unless you're playing for about 8 to 12 hours a day, you're just better off sacrificing your movement or aim by just going with a 4-4 classic. Like, I know there's different ALCs that you can make, there's Steam configs, but if you're only gonna be playing for like 1-2 hours, like, don't worry about ALCs, just go with what the game has you. 4-4 classic, that's what I run, and it does more than enough for me to play Apex and still have fun and still do pretty good. Now, on controller, I really didn't talk about so many pros because I feel like if you're playing a controller and you're comfortable with it, that's really all you need to know. You just need to know that playing with a controller is better. And a pro that I could put on there would be aim assist, but I feel like aim assist is more of the topic of conversation than just the controller sticks and, you know, the buttons and the paddles, and you play Claude, you play this, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about. Now, when we're talking about aim assist, I kind of agree with his Watson when he says, you know, aim assist isn't OP, you're just bad. I'm not saying you're a bad player, but that's kind of just how I feel about it, is that it isn't that OP. And I mean, years ago, we wouldn't have had this to be much of an argument, because if you're playing on PlayStation or you're playing on Xbox against other PlayStation and Xbox players, they don't even care about any aim assist because they all have it. It's only a topic of conversation when you mix the controller players in the PC community, when you mix mouse and keyboard with controllers. And since that's been allowed in the crossplay, this argument has gotten to be a little bit louder. Now, the PC community is used to having their own like little exclusive club, but with the invention of crossplay and the intermingling of all these different gaming systems, it has been great for business, and it has been even greater for gaming. But it has all put all the systems on kind of a level playing field. Like, no one system is better than the other. You could say that PC is definitely better just because you can get higher frames, but everyone's kind of on still like a level playing field. Like, everyone can play with everyone, and everyone's going to have to adjust to playing with everyone. But what does all this have to do with aim assist? Because if you nerf aim assist, then I feel like if you're Apex, that just kind of shows that you favor one input over the other input. Controller players might not want to play Apex anymore if they feel like their aim assist is going to get nerfed, or say their PlayStation friends aren't going to want to play with me on mouse and keyboard because they know that if I'm on PC, they're not going to get any aim assist, so they'd rather just play on PlayStation, get their aim assist, play against other controller players, and have fun with their own day, and that would be right by them. I don't think that aim assist is the biggest problem Apex has right now at this moment, and if they nerfed aim assist instead of fixing, say, audio first, like, oof. I think as a gamer, you kind of have to have some give and take, especially at the PC level, because like I said, PlayStation and Xbox players, they don't argue about aim assist like it happens on the PC level because they have aim assist with their own respective player bases. Now, I don't know if they'll ever solve the aim assist problem, but I feel like at some point there's going to have to be some type of a compromise with the devs and with the player base about where we want to stand on aim assist. But as far as your input goes, just use whatever is going to feel comfortable for you. But I would encourage you to branch out and maybe give MNK a try if you're a controller player. Maybe if you're a MNK player, maybe you play controller a little bit. I don't know, it's up to you. But I just feel like when you play mouse and keyboard, it's kind of like you're learning Apex over again, and that can be exciting. And it can also maybe help you improve your own game. But at the end of the day, your input's not really going to matter because it is still hard to win any game of Apex Legends. It is not going to be any easier if you're playing on controller, whereas if you're playing on mouse and keyboard. There's so many different things that go into the game that you really can't account for. That's why it's all RNG. It's all random. You don't know if you're going to win this game. All you can do is just put yourself in the best position. And you can be in the best position having a fire game, and you are still going to die to the Gibby that just snuck up right behind you and just blasted you. Again, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, and comment your argument down below about mouse and keyboard or controller. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.